Hey everyone, welcome back. Now it's been quite a few weeks, if not months, since previous video I made. But of course with that, been working on a few projects here and there. And pretty much most recent one's been the AMT 2016 or 2017 Camaro SS 1LE. Now this one here is got the box here. It's a bit of an older kit, but bit more on the modern side, being essentially a newer tooling. Pick this up there, give it a try, build a much newer Camaro, as I have built a Gen 5 before, and plenty of Gen 2 cars, both the early 70s and late 70s models, so fair build something a little bit newer. Fair that the paintwork on here is I'm quite pleased about. This pretty much a kit that's molded in a bright yellow, pretty much what the box art shows. And with that, pretty much went over with a gray primer, mute out all the color. Went over it again with some silver base coat, and then bright green, then this lime green up coat, or top coat, I suppose, which does have a nice metallic shine and glimmer to it, which I quite like. Of course, has a decent green hue to it, and then in the light it has a almost yellow tint, kind of like a pearlescent finish, which I quite like. Also went ahead with the engine bay details, got the inside of the engine bay painted, the intake manifold cover, the intake cover. Didn't go too crazy with detail, as most of it would be like black or gray anyways, so yeah, so it looks pretty good. Then one of the few things I don't quite have installed at the moment would be the seats, as at the time of filming it's getting to be early October, so it's getting cold quite quickly. So it's like pretty much put this together for right now and get the seats installed later, as all it pretty much just snap back together. Just pull the chassis apart, put the seats back in, and then be done with it. So yeah, fair's been quite nice, and quite happy with the stance of it, as at times you'll build a fairly newer kit and you put it all together and it ends up sitting too high or doesn't sit quite right as you perhaps wanted it to sit. But I find like it does have, it kind of feels a little bit high, but at the same time it's quite accurate to what the real car looks like. Has a decent amount of ground clearance, but not like a huge monster truck style ground clearance, which is quite nice, as I have seen the odd build here and there where something doesn't line up right or this or that. So I find that everything just lines up quite nicely. If it doesn't line up first, it's more just shuffle things around and then everything will sit together if anyone watching here decides to build this kit for themselves. Which, for myself, I'm quite pleased with how it turned out so far. And with that, I have been working on a few other things, like this here's the modern Revell wide side F350. Went with a pretty much for a more factory truck where it's just rolled off the assembly line. So pretty much went with this, it's like a cherry red almost. When I painted it originally, it was like a medium to dark red, but it's quite a nice finish to it. Now, of course, it's essentially finished. The only things really missing though from it is the front bumper and rear bumper. The rear bumper is more that it comes with a large step bumper, which looks really good, but I want to use that for like another build for a work truck and such. But with this, I did end up I got the front bumper painted, but carrying a bunch of stuff back to the room after painting, I believe I ended up dropping it somewhere and no idea where it actually went afterwards, so it's kind of sitting like this for right now. But I'm sure I could find another bumper for it somewhere within the parts collection. And the interior here pretty much went with a accenting bright red as what you would find on these trucks from back in the day. As you'd have some, like if it's dark color, you'd have a bright corresponding interior color. Or if anything, if you got like, say, I don't know, a lariat trim, you have it where you get like beige interior and everything, but the exterior color can be something completely different. Like I know on a lot of the 70s trucks, like you'll have the interior color match the exterior, so it's like you had like 20 different colors, but like the choice of 6 different interior colors based on what you got, which is pretty nice. Pretty much is how it sits for right now until I decide to do more with it. And then getting a little bit on the older end of the spectrum, I've got it's the Monogram 1940 Ford pickup. It's pretty much went with a dark purple, kind of a fuchsia color. Pretty much had this can of paint sitting for a while, not sure what to do with it. Try it out, see how it looks. And after painting it, it's like kind of looks like a late 70s, early 80s styled show truck or restored truck from that time period, being a very floral color and more factory look to it. And been playing around a little bit with wheels and tires, as the kit does come with these nice rivets, bullet hole style, I guess these would be like centerline wheels. Use those, but playing around with ideas, do have a set of these thrust torque styled wheels out of another kit. I think this would have been out of the Revell Dom's Charger kit from quite a few years ago now. Had an extra set of these laying around, not sure what I want to do with them. But it's like putting these on. They does make it have quite a nice aggressive appearance, being a more show style truck, which I quite like. Now, of course, a bit of a downside is I got all like the fenders, bed, and body painted, but realistically at the same time I should have painted a lot more, as still need to paint the firewall and hood and tailgate as well. Then it's only like those small, I think like couple milliliter spray cans you get from like Testors or Tamiya. So I believe I have enough to finish the truck, but the problem is I might have waited too long and won't be able to get this done till sometime next year, which, if you know, once you start a project, you better finish it, otherwise you're going to start another project and you're just going to have a bunch of stuff that's been disassembled or somewhat put together and then parts go missing all of a sudden. So it's pretty much been a case of get that thrown together. So yeah, nothing too much to it. And then a little bit newer, got this Revell Camaro, which is the Billy Hargrove version from Stranger Things series. Now this one was more of a trial and error sort of build, as I've got a bunch of these but haven't built this version of the kit before. Went with the performance supercharged engine, which went together quite well. Then originally painted it this nice teal blue, but of course when I was painting it, didn't quite feel it, as I have built a couple vehicles using this same shade of blue before in the past. So went ahead, started painting it this copper color, and when painting it, did end up spraying just the sides of it, spraying the underside and then overspray on the top. But it does have a nice two-tone look, how on some angles it ends up fading from the blue to the gold, or to the bronze, I suppose. And then the wheels and tires here, you see, aren't from the kit, I think they're either from an Aoshima or Fujimi tire kit. I wanted to go with something that was low profile and sporty, which I feel like looks pretty good, going for the modern performance look. Still quite a lot to do with this, as there's quite a few pieces on here that would be painted black, so a couple of those small things here and there that would be dealt with later on. Then of course, this is kind of how I originally wanted to paint, how I confirmed I wanted to paint it brown. Had the underside of the hood painted to match the rest of the body, but decided to change the plan, so the car now has this copper hood that's under the hood that's painted, but I'd say it looks pretty well. So that's been quite a decent build, nothing too crazy. And then this is something I started like sometime earlier this summer. I think this is either a Revell or Monogram 58 Corvette, done in a charcoal gray with black accents. Originally wanted to paint this one a yellow color, but as you can see right here, that's why I wanted to do it. But the paint I had was just way too watery and didn't look good, so end up just spraying over top and went for a more, I guess more earth tone feel, which I feel looks pretty good, especially for the car, as usually they're almost always red or some vibrant color, something a little bit special. And the chassis, and did get some of the interior stuff and chassis, which is quite a simple kit, as you'll have, I think this is like 3-piece chassis. You'll have the frame itself, and then you have the front half and the back half, as well as the interior tub that keeps everything together and hides a bunch of the transition seams. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. And then of course this, I know like everyone has their favorite iteration of Corvettes, which I know everyone has like the could be like the C2, C3, C4 era, but I do like the first generation, more specifically the 50, these would be the 50, well the style technically would have been a 57, but I prefer more the 56, or the 58, 59, 60 style with the quad headlights and bodyline curved taillights, as 61, 62 more came down into like a boat fin style with the dual taillights, which became more prominent throughout the second and third generation Corvettes. So it's pretty much how I built something a bit neat. Been a little bit working on and off of this, as working on a few other projects. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been working on for the last little while. Haven't really felt like making, there's some of these I probably should have made a video on, but didn't really have much of an idea on what would make for a good video other than an unboxing. Then of course that's pretty much it. Now of course you more want to see how you end up building it more than see just what parts are included and stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty much gonna be it for that. That'll pretty much be it for this video. So yeah, got quite a lot on the go, and yeah, not sure what next video is gonna be, but got a few things in mind, might work something out. So yeah, that'll be it for this video, and see you next time.